All right, so what I think we're going to do is there is a, I think these things are made out of graphite as far as the washers and all the pieces on here. So there's one of the graphite washers. There's another one back here on the other side. The one back here on the other side was not messed up very bad, so I took it and moved it up here to the front. I took the one that was on the front and flipped the side that had the grooves so that it's on the outside of the washer. Put it over here on this side. And then I'm putting new O-rings in all the places where the O-rings were. So essentially what we have at the moment, and I'm just kind of playing with it at the moment, making sure these O-rings are fitting, but so when we put, the other day when I was looking at this, I was talking about how loose this was, but in reality, when you actually put all of these pieces on here so that they all slide in together, you get all this back in here. So when you put it all in, it's pretty tight. So what I'm thinking about doing is I'm going to put new O-rings back in here. I'll flip these graphite washers around, and I'm going to put it all back together. And then what I'm thinking about doing is rigging up something to hook to my fuel input line here, and then I'm going to see if this thing leaks before I put it back in the airplane. So I'm going to put everything back together, get all the pieces back in, and then I'm going to pressurize it and see if there's any leaks. And if there's not, then I'm going to just put it back in the airplane and try it out, because I can't find a valve that's exactly like this. I've called Parker. They have no idea what this thing is. The numbers that are on the cover here evidently don't mean anything to anybody. So I'm having a really difficult time finding this thing. My only other alternative, if that doesn't work, is I did find one similar to this on eBay, but it's a different looking outside, so I'm not sure what the dimensions are on the thing. And then but if it happens to be the same one, maybe the insides are in better shape. But again, this one's not in bad shape, so I'm really kind of confused why it's leaking as bad as it is. Anyway, my thought is that perhaps the clocking on the thing was a little bit off, so that when I pushed it over to the front left tank, instead of this thing closing off the other valves, maybe it was half open on all of the valves, and it was just letting everything leak through the thing. So I'm going to be checking that as well. I've already checked the clocking on the inside to make sure it matches the right tank and everything looks okay in there, but I'm going to play around with this and see if I can figure out exactly what's going on, and maybe we can fix this without actually doing a whole lot to it. So right now, the big thing that I'm looking for is I've got to find the O-ring that goes in here around the face. It got tore a little bit when it was getting taken off of this piece. I won't say who did it, but you know who it was. So I got to find a new O-ring for this, and then once I get that, I'll get it all put back together, and we'll do some more testing with it. All right, so if we turn this to the front left rear, the left rear tank, not the front left rear, that'd be a little weird. That's the left rear tank. Then the knob in the bottom goes toward the front. Is that what you said? It goes.
It moved towards the front.
Okay. So when we move this to the left rear, it moves. There's a little tab in there, and it's moving toward the front. So we're going to go try to clock this thing and figure out exactly where everything goes. Okay. So we have gotten the O-rings that we needed, and we've got them in. I've left the this piece off for a minute so we could check the clocking on this to make sure that everything was working right. We've put all this back together. We've got the this piece lined back up with the off position. So right now, the way this thing mounts in the airplane, it mounts with these two holes horizontal. This one's down at the bottom. And then you'll notice there's red marks here, and then there's red marks inside the airplane where the actual piece is that moves all this. So from the off position, if we move it to the right rear tank, what it ends up doing is it ends up turning this in a counterclockwise motion. So what ends up happening is this the piece that we left the hose on, because we couldn't get this loose while it was in the airplane, this ends up being the left rear tank. So the left front tank ends up being this guy down here on the bottom. So what we're going to do is I've got to put this valve, the elbow back on here and safety it, and then we've already got the O-rings. We flipped those graphite washers on here, so we've got all that stuff flipped around so the smooth side is to the inside of this setup. We've got new O-rings on the shaft. We've got a new O-ring under the plate. So all of this stuff is all good. We're gonna put a new O-ring on this and put this back in and safety these guys, and then we should be ready to put this thing back in the airplane. Okay, so we have the safety wire back on our connector. We've got everything back together, and so the plan is we're going to put this back in the airplane. Right now it's in the off position, so we're going to leave it in the off position. We're only going to hook up the the left front tank, which is not this guy. This is the front or the left rear. So we actually are only going to hook up this guy down here. So we'll hook up the left front tank. We're going to fill that tank up with gas, and then we're going to leave the rest of these open so that we can see if they leak. We're going to leave it in the off position for a little bit to make sure that the off position doesn't allow it to leak, and then we're going to turn it around to where we're actually hooked to the front tank here. And then at that point it should fill this cavity up with fuel, and if it's going to leak, it should leak. So right now what we're going to do is try to get this thing back in the airplane. All right, so what we have done is we have gone in and put the valve back in here. I've figured out which one of these lines goes to which tank. We hooked it up back to the engine. We filled the tank up with gas, and we left it overnight. We had it in the off position and left it overnight. Now, one thing that I did mess up on when I took this pump or the valve apart is when those pieces came out of the center piece, the ones that actually close off each one of the lines, I did not keep track of which one of those was in what position. And so what that means is that I may have moved the leak from the left front tank to the back tank or whatever. I may have moved it to a different tank. I don't think that's going to be the case, but that it's a possibility. So right now what is happening is we filled the left front tank up, and we had it in the off position, and the off position is actually straight up here at the top is where that open hole is, and we left it overnight. When I came in this morning, there has been a little bit of fuel has leaked out. So what I'm about to do is I'm going to break these lines loose and see if I can figure out which one of these lines has fuel in it, if any of them. This line is the line from the left front tank. So because it's the one from the left front tank, I can't loosen it because obviously it's going to leak. So what we're going to do is the left rear tank is up here above this tank, this particular valve. So we're going to loosen it up first and see if anything falls out of it. Let me get my glasses on here. So what we're going to do crack it a few turns, and nothing is coming out of it. So that we're good there. All right, and then this valve we know we're good on because it actually has fuel in it anyway. So we'll loosen this guy up. So this is going to be the right tanks. And there's nothing coming out of it. And it could be that the little bit of fuel that it's missing up there just settled down into the engine. Because this other line we had drained out too, and it had to put some fuel into the engine to fill that back up. So it's possible, although at this particular point it shouldn't be. So we'll take it loose too, check it just to be sure. So nothing going there. Alright, so nothing there. Let's break the engine loose. And there's none leaking there. So the valve itself has not leaked. Now, to be clear, we did flip over because I've been having a hard time thinking that those valves were leaking anyway with the way that those things are sitting, but we did flip over those washers on the ends of the connector, and maybe they have changed something. So I don't see anywhere that the fuel has leaked out of this valve. Everything seems like it's shut off. This valve again is the one that's got the fuel pressure on it, so I can't take it loose because it'll definitely leak. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get up in the cockpit and we're going to turn the fuel system over to being on the left front tank. And so what that's going to do is that is going to allow fuel to go into this fuel line going to the engine, and it should close off the other three lines. So we'll leave that for a little while and see if that ends up leaking out any. Because that's really where the main problem was in the first place, is that it was leaking out of this valve and then going into the other tank. So that's going to be our next test. So that is the left rear and that's the left front. So that's where we're going to let that sit now, and we'll see what happens with that. So the fuel at this particular point is right at the bottom part of the neck. So it's not totally full, but it's right at the bottom part of that neck. It's just kind of hard to see. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fill this thing back up so that we've actually got a full tank with it sitting where it's sitting. So as you can see, there's very little fuel that I actually added back in there. So I'm thinking that what probably happened is it's just settled down in the tank after I filled it up, because that's about how much I put in. It's right at the bottom of the neck of the gas tank, and it didn't take a whole lot to put back in there. So I'm thinking that what it was missing was just what had settled down into the tank overnight. So what we're going to do is we're going to close this thing off, and we'll leave it for another few hours. I'm going to come back out maybe tonight. It may be in the morning, but I'll probably come out later tonight and check it again and see if any leaks out now that we've got it down to on the left tank.